Hi guys. So I'm going to do today's video on kind of a challenging topic, and I wasn't even sure if I wanted to take it on. Obviously, I read current events. I don't have the best things to say about our politicians. Let me explain something. Am I for Biden or for Trump? Let me put it this way. I serve the spirit. And so when it comes to politics, the only reason I'm interested in it is because of this. Some spiritualists believe that we should stay out of it. That we should just be spiritual, be peaceful, be heart centered, be evolved, 5D, whatever you want to say. We're here to awaken the planet. But this is the thing. I was taught by my teacher, keep one foot in the spiritual and one foot in the physical at all times. If we only stay in the spiritual, we're not dealing with what's going on in the physical world. And what is the point of a light worker but to shed light in the world, to help awaken humanity, to heal. So, but if we cut off from the spiritual and we only live in the physical, obviously a life of spirit is incredibly dull and draining and empty. So we don't want that either, of course. And there are some people that live in the world, have no connection to spirit, and maybe they're happy that way, but for the most part, a lot of people are very unfulfilled. So we want to have a balance, and we need to have that. I have one foot in the spiritual and one foot in the physical, because for me to do my spiritual work, it involves the physical. So I'm going to be work with people doing readings or healings or whatever is going on, the shamanic journey or, whatever. We need to be a part of it, and we need to be awake and aware of what is going on in the world. And politics, I do read on that because that has a lot to do with the course the world is going. Now, there's a video, there's a few of them, but there's one in particular that has almost over 200,000 views. And I'm not trying to badmouth the person, okay? So I'm not going to come from that place. But the video is Trump a light worker? And there are some spiritualists who believe he is. There's a little bit of conspiracy theory which has influenced that, Save the Children movement and things like that. They believe he is working to help with that. But this is how I see him. And I just want, as they were trying to get you to expand your mind and shut off critical thinking, because I really feel that's what was going on when I watched the video. Really trying to plant the seeds. And I don't want to do that with you. I'm just going to share my perspective, but I want you to think for yourself. I don't want you don't have to believe what I say. I'm just going to share my view. And you can accept it or not, whatever you want. I do accept the fact that Trump has a role to play in ushering in the new earth. I do accept that. Now, one of the things I believe is that we could get to the new earth if we all work together, and we could bypass a very negative time, which a lot of times is depicted as an end times, biblically. Now, one of the things to understand about the Bible is certain prophecies have happened. They have been fulfilled. One of them is even the Jews returning to Israel. That was prophesied, that they would not only would the temple be destroyed and they would be scattered, but they would also return home and become a nation again. And they did. Okay, then also they would take back Jerusalem, 6-day war. Yes, they did. So, I don't ignore biblical prophecy. There's a lot more that have occurred. I'm just giving a brief example. I don't want to go too deep into it. But I do want to talk about something, because I do believe Trump has a role to play in ushering in the new earth. But I feel like the light people are aware of that. And I believe that Christians are aware that he has a role to play. And many people, we understand that. But what that role is where we are divided. Some people think he could be the great savior. He's here to save the children. He's breaking down the system. He's, unveiling corruption. And other people, think he's the Antichrist. It's amazing how we differ on our view. My view is this. I want you to think of the story of Jesus and Judas. At the Last Supper, Jesus says to all the disciples that one will betray him. And the reason why Jesus said this is because one of the things is through his walk, each time he walked, he was fulfilling a prophecy. And written in the Old Testament was the fact that the Messiah would be betrayed with a kiss, and the sellout would be 30 shekels of silver. Okay? So we know that Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss, and he was paid 30 shekels of silver. But this is the thing. Judas he didn't hate Jesus. People need to understand. There was, the Romans had taken over, and the Pharisees were pretty corrupt. So we had, the temple was corrupt, and the government was all messed up, and everybody was waiting for the Messiah to save them. Judas thought by selling out Jesus that Jesus would reveal himself. I'm the Messiah, okay? And he would take the throne and fix all that. See, Judas just wanted the corrupt system gone, okay? Wasn't trying to hurt Jesus. He really didn't want to. He was trying to push Jesus in filling a role the way he wanted it done. Jesus didn't do that, though, because he had to fulfill prophecy. He had to go through all the steps, which included the crucifixion and the resurrection. But this is the thing to understand. Without Judas, there would be no crucifixion or resurrection. No saved souls. So he had a role. It's not a good role. And would he realize what he did? And he knew Scripture too. He knew Scripture just like Jesus. Jesus surely educated him. Would he realize who he was? The betrayer in the story. He killed himself. So I don't see Trump as a light worker. Okay. I do see he has a role, but it's more like that. I see him more as a betrayer. Government definitely has a lot of problems. There's a lot of corruption, but we also had a lot of issues with racial unrest. It's all come to surface. Many things have been coming to surface since COVID. Let me show you a few cards that I pulled. Solar plexus chakra, radical illumination. See that word? Radical illumination. And that is something that has been going on since he got into office. Many things are coming to light. The veil is being pulled back more and more with him being into office. So he is serving in that role. The confusion is who he is. Radical expansion. So I've got radical illumination and then radical expansion. One of the things is many are mass awakening right now. But then you also have many who are being deceived. Okay? And then my third card is evolution. So no matter what, for all you light people, with what is going on, there is no stopping evolution. I do not want you to worry on that part. But all this radical illumination and expansion has to happen. And it's painful. These are the birthing pains of what is to come. So one of the things in the video, the big one, which you could easily search is Trump a Lightworker and find it. You know, and like I said, I'm not trying to badmouth her, okay? I'm trying to be very careful on that. I don't think she's a bad person. But she kept saying things like, when he speaks, really listen to his words. As if there's something hidden, cryptic in what he says. What is cryptic in talking about injecting people with disinfectant, okay? Or putting lights in them to kill a virus, okay? Or denying COVID-19 and costing, as of now, over 180,000 deaths, okay? There's nothing to read between the lines there. And another thing I'll point out, and this was brought up in the comments, one of the things he did early in the campaign when he first got elected was he made fun of a disabled person. That's not a light worker. There is no reading between the lines on that. And I know a lot of people try to give him credit like maybe he's just not awake to who he is. Well, of course he's not awake to who he is. But it's not as a light worker. That's not his role. That's not his role. Another thing I kind of feel, and some may not like what I'm going to say. For a while, America has not been very neighborly. You know, we would get involved in certain wars and things like that, you know. But even the government, working people like worker bees, a lot of homeless and not helping them out, just not being neighborly, you know, love the neighbor as yourself. And churches, you know, just, many are corrupt. It's all about the money. We have mega churches. We have televangelists on TV, and it's all about money, 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 money. You know, send us your prayers and a whole lot of money and we'll make your prayers come true. You know, there's a lot of corruption in many things. So, you know, it's coming down. It's coming down. We are individuals and we are viewed like that as spirit, but we can also be judged as nations. That is another thing that can happen. So, the thing is, if you notice another thing, is many Christians are for Trump. A lot of them are pro-life. That is part of the reason. But they were also warned by Jesus and in other parts of the book that they would be deceived. Now, I'm not saying he's the Antichrist. Do not get me wrong. I don't know. I would find that hard to believe. There's still other things that would have to take place for all that to go down. But I feel he definitely plays a part in the deception. I want you to think on another thing too. I've been watching the Republican National Convention for the last few nights. There's many people out there talking about save the children, and they believe Trump is going to save the children. Why are they not talking about it at the convention? Why are the children not being discussed? I want you to think on that too. I want you to really think on that, because if that's the number one thing that he's involved in is saving the children, that should have been mentioned. That, you know, and I know some people say, oh, he's doing it behind the scenes, but come on. If anything, wouldn't the whole thing be to rip the veil and expose everyone? That's not happening. Okay. So we have to look at things as they are. In the video, there was a lot of really listen to his words. He's breaking down all these things. He is breaking down things, that is true. But it's in a negative way. I've been reading current events. There are other tarot readers that are reading current events. You could search and find them. And we're all seeing the same things. I've kind of noticed. It might be a few different, but for the most part, we're all kind of very similar in what we're seeing. Many of us do believe he's going to lose. But where the area gets gray, and I feel we're all kind of unsure, I will tell you, is if he's going to leave or not. I definitely do fear there's going to be an issue with that. And that's the gray area that Spirit has not quite lifted the veil on. What's going to happen? And that's got a lot of us spiritualists on edge. And what is really bizarre to me is how anybody, no matter what side you're on or whatever it may be or what you believe, would not fear our democracy and the peaceful transfer of power happening. If that doesn't happen, what does that do to us? What will that change? So it's got a lot of people on edge. It's got a lot of people on edge. And, I don't feel it's going to be anything like it's ever been in the past. I can say that. I feel it's going to be very significant. What's going to go down. And that's what I'm concerned about. And that's what a lot of us are concerned about, is what's going to happen. I feel we will know much more come election. We will definitely see something. And I have a feeling it's going to be radical. So, but I would say, when it comes to this, be careful all the lolly-dolly spiritual lingo, raising 5D consciousness. He is going to elevate the planet, destroy corruption, see things as they are. It's so simple. Don't make it harder on yourself. I guess if I could say anything to you, don't make it harder on yourself to see what's going on here. He seems to me, as I've studied him quite a bit, he speaks what's on his mind. He does lie a lot. But what's going on in his head, he has no problem blurting out. So when he says things on Twitter that are insulting or putting people down, or he's lying or various things, that is his inner. His inner is not some pure-hearted, light person masking his true character of being some kind of light being. What you see that comes out of his mouth reflects what's on the inside. And I feel like that is that's been a very bizarre thing. And when I study it, I almost am fascinated. Like, he will say things and people will be like, oh, he didn't mean that. He meant this. They'll twist certain things. He'll say something so off the wall, maybe offensive, and then they'll try to twist what he said. He didn't mean that. Like when he made fun of the disabled person. Oh, he didn't mean that. But I really feel he means what he says. Okay? And he's getting bolder and bolder with what he says. And people need to really, really pay attention here. It is I feel like the hardest thing right now for all the light people is, who do you trust during this time? It's really hard to find someone to trust. You know, because even if you could vote Trump or Biden, whichever one, we have a hard, who do we trust? So I feel for you if you're in that situation. You don't know what to believe, you don't know who to trust and everything. And it's a scary place to be. You know, it's a scary place for me to be. You know, it's like, wow, you know, there's really not a trustworthy person here in this story. You know, what I can only say to that is trust spirit during this time. That's all you can do. You know, trust spirit during this time. Um, we are getting to the point of evolution. You know, that's the thing. It's part of the birthing pains of evolution. We're kind of in Shiva mode right now. Everything is kind of being destroyed in various ways. You know, before we could get into the creator type of mode, you know, and really begin the evolution process. Do not shrug off your critical thinking skills, okay? Your common sense. Don't let anybody tell you to drop your guard, you know, and do away with that. You know, you don't have to believe what I say. As a matter of fact, that's totally cool. I'm okay with that. You know, I'm going to have my own connection to spirit and my own way of viewing everything. And you go ahead and have your view. I'm okay with that. But make sure it's not someone else's view becoming your own. Just because they have a following on YouTube or Facebook, just because you respect them, just because they've said some really good things and passed before, don't necessarily accept what they say as gospel on this situation especially, you know, because they could be misguided. And that's the thing, you know. And I will tell you, I mean, to shrug off what he says and does, you know, even removing environmental protections. Okay, you know, one of the things is Lightworkers, we want to take care of the planet. We're trying to heal the planet. You know, we want to save these animals that are endangered, and he's removing environmental protections. Okay. California is on fire, and he says you need to rake the leaves. Okay, where's the help to California? But it's a Democratic state. Come on, guys. You know, I mean, poor California is on fire. And then we got a hurricane. We're going to see how that goes. Okay. But one thing that we can't ignore is 180,000 deaths. And they're projecting it would be about 300,000 by the end of the year. And there's other countries that managed COVID-19 when it hit very well. They didn't have nearly as many deaths as we do. They managed it way better. We're not a success story here at all. And even the convention, they were talking about, except for Melania, she spoke about it. I was like, oh, thank God. But a lot of them were talking like about COVID like it was in the past. And it's not. A lot of people are going to lose their homes. A lot of people are going to lose their lives. A lot of people are losing their jobs. You know, they're losing any kind of semblance of security that they had before. And where people need to come together to help each other. You know, like start organizations. Because we can't depend on the government to take care of us. We really can't. Look at the Senate. They took a vacation when people's unemployment, federal unemployment was getting cut off. They took a vacation. They took a recess till September. And some of these people are going to get evicted. This is what it's coming down to. It's coming down to the wire for a lot of people. It's getting really bad. So yes, I do feel a betrayal. I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed when I see what is happening. You know, that we all have to go out and wear a mask to go anywhere, and we take a risk with our lives to do certain things. You know, the world is different. It has changed. It has changed dramatically. But we weren't neighborly for a while there. You know, we weren't being that way. You know, and I do agree. You know, the situation with children, I kind of feel that's the last straw spirit, to be honest, because there is a problem with the children. I do acknowledge that is true. And I do feel that this is part of the reason, a big, actually, part of the reason everything is like this right now, because Spirit's fed up about the kids and the way they've been treated by the adults. I do accept that. But as far as Trump caring about the kids, like I said, why aren't they talking about it? Why aren't they talking about it? Why aren't they making it number one priority? But there's a lot of talk about the economy. There's a lot of talk about that. Wall Street, you know, let's get Wall Street up, you know. And that's one of the problems, you know, we need to understand. And I know this is a hard thing, and some people might get mad at me for saying it, but what we need to understand is we created him. Okay? We created him. This country created him. And we have to take responsibility for that. So we became a country that was very self-serving, that mainly focused on the self. We weren't always like that. I don't feel we were always like that, but we definitely got that way, where it was all about us and not necessarily each other. You know, we were like this to each other. We were like this to other people trying to come to this country. That we're talking about building walls. And we have children in cages. You know, people talk about save the children. What about the kids in cages? Why are they different? I don't understand that. Please show me some logic on that one too. We'll really know more come election. That's what I fear. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of afraid. And I'm normally at a place of peace, and I am even right now, because I do trust Spirit, and I know it's all a part of evolution. Okay? I know that I have to accept whatever my mission is and whatever Spirit wants me to do, I'll do. I will acknowledge that. Don't be fooled. He's not a light worker. Okay? He's created by us in many ways, and it's almost our judgment for not taking care of each other, not being neighborly. You know, the rich got rich, the poor got poor. You know, people judge the poor because they need food stamps to eat, and they're always trying to cut them off and cut them off and cut them off and all this stuff, you know. And there are good people who get out there. They start organizations and they do things to feed people and clothe them and give them homes. There are people who do things like that. You know, there's still a lot of good people. A lot of light people are out there trying to do something positive, you know. Death doesn't lie. We were sold a bill of goods that it was a hoax. Right there alone, that lie cost many lives. I want you to think on that alone. There is no really listen to his words thing here. I've listened to many things he said. And if anything, it's dangerous if you believe his lies. I understand the media is a very challenging thing It's very divided, and it's trying to win you over and various things. And we have to really be incredibly discerning the news that we watch, because they do want to capture your mind. So we got to unplug from that and be incredibly discerning during this time, to not be influenced. But we want to be realistic. You know, the truth should not be so difficult to see if you're a light person. It doesn't have to be that difficult. I know there's a lot of people who want to manipulate and all that, but when you awaken and everything, you know, we're to see the unity. And if there's division, if there's people trying to divide or spread hate in various ways, that's not light. It's just not light. There was another thing in the video, something about that he was, you know, various things he was breaking down, you know, politics, the system. But she even said something about him breaking down science. And when I heard that, okay, science is straight up truth. And he has been trying to break down science. So you don't listen to the scientists who know what they're talking about. And that's a very scary thing. Look what happened back in the day when the church was trying to silence Galileo and Copernicus. You know, we don't want to go that road again. We've already been that road, and they're doing it again. So she's right in a sense that he's trying to crush science, but we don't want to break down science. We don't want to do that. And if anything, spirituality has been trying to work with science so we can learn from each other, to see that we're not necessarily that different. We're looking at the same things. We may see them a little different, but for the most part, our eyes are on the same things. We need them. We need science. So anybody who tries to crush science, we've been that road. And look what it did. We have a lot of freedom of religion right now. That even is being threatened. You know, the Lightworker, because there's, you know, conservative Christian, there's a big thing with that party. You know, and if we can't express this kind of spirituality, that's going to be a problem too. We need to be able to connect to spirit. You know, we don't want to connect to a false god. That's a little scary too. That worries me as well. Heaven forbid we go back to the witch burnings, right? You know. So that's kind of my feel. You know, that's a little bit. I may take a little bit of flack for what I said. You know, I know some of you see him in a bright light, but isn't that the story? Isn't that the way it's supposed to go? The deception. There's many deceptions. There's many. Jesus definitely warned, you know, many would come. And I don't know who's going to be the main one. If we don't have to go that road, though, you know. I mean, we could get to the new earth without going through this drama. It could happen if we just came together. But there's so many people that want the division, you know. They want us in opposition, because if we're divided, we're weaker. But when you come together as one, then they can't control you anymore. It's so simple, but we don't do it. We don't do it. So we're divided into so many subsets, you know, that everybody's in opposition. They can totally play us all like puppets. But it's a shame to see it in the Lightworker community, to see people even dividing there. We're the ones who need to unite. We're the ones who need to get in alignment. So that's my take on it. Take it for what it's worth. Like I said, I don't want to badmouth the person. You know, I still want to come from a place of love, but I definitely don't see things the same way. And it is kind of funny. It's like, well, you know, if you're right, Ellen, what is she connected to, or what are you connected to? You know, I'm sure we're both connected to spirit, but there could be things getting in the way. And I guess you have to kind of just decide for yourself, you know, not as much about, well, what about your connection or her connection? This is what I say. Just concern yourself with your own connection. Go to spirit yourself. Go to your own guides yourself. Don't even worry about all that. Just go to your own. What did they say to you? That's all that matters in the end. Hope this helps.